Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti. We focus on spirituality, Vedanta, and Sanatana Dharma. Please subscribe our channel for mystical meanings of the scriptures and daily satsang. Our humble prostrations to the all-pervading Brahman or God, our worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananda Maharaj, all sages and scriptures, and to the divinity in each of you. We are currently exploring the scripture Mysticism of Mahabharata. Commentary is by Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda ji and narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. Today we are starting the Mausala Parva, destruction of the Yadavas. For 36 years after the Mahabharata war ended, while Yudhishthira ruled his kingdom at Hastinapur, Krishna ruled at Dwarka. There he watched the behavior of the men in his vast family deteriorate due to a lack of purposefulness. These Yadavas had been gods in the heavenly world who incarnated with tremendous power in order to destroy demons, and now that task had been completed. Recalling the curse that Gandhari had given about the destruction of his race, Krishna knew that the time was drawing near for their departure from the earth plane. Then one day, 3 great sages arrived in Dwarka, and several of those arrogant Yadavas decided to put those sages to the test. So they dressed up one man in their group to appear like a pregnant lady and brought him before the sages. With a great show of humility that was actually an attempt at ridicule, they asked what type of child, boy or girl, the lady would bear. Knowing very well what the rascals were up to, the sages said, "This personality is going to bear an iron club, which will be the destroyer of the Yadava race." The next day, a club-shaped piece of iron called a Mausala issued from the body of the man who had been dressed like a woman. Terrified at seeing this, the men pounded that club into a powder and threw the powder into the ocean. By doing so, they hoped to nullify the terrible curse that they had received. However, once a karmic process is set in motion, it cannot be withdrawn. Thus, every grain of that powdered Mausala gave rise to numerous plants with sword-like leaves, which began to grow in abundance by the shores of Prabhasa Kshetra, waiting silently until the right moment to perform their job of destruction. Seeing the evil omens which abounded everywhere, Krishna suggested that he and all the Yadavas should go on a pilgrimage to Prabhasa Kshetra to purify themselves. After arriving there, the men began to drink and bully each other until fights broke out in which several of them were killed. In the mayhem that resulted, everyone, including Krishna, got involved in fighting, and they all began to use the sword-like leaves, weapons around as weapons. So they just broke those shrubs, those sharp sword-like weapons. Within a very short time, in a most amazing fashion, most of the men had been killed by the explosive power of those sharp leaves. At the end of this self-destruction of the Yadavas, Balarama, Krishna's brother, retired to a quiet place, entered into meditation, and brought his own earthly existence to an end. As he died, the story says, 1,000 hooded snake emerged from his head and flew into the sky to be merged into the Milky Ocean. This imagery of his death is designed to illustrate that Balarama was an incarnation of Sheshnag, the 1,000-hooded serpent upon which Lord Vishnu rests. Sheshnag represents the cosmic mind upon which the divine self reclines, as it were, on the milky ocean of eternity. Mystically speaking, behind the material world, there is a mental force, the mind of God, the cosmic mind. That mental force that sustains the entire universe was represented by Balarama, and at the time of his death, his spirit assumed its true identity as Sheshnag. The departure of Krishna is the next episode. After the death of Balrama, as well as most of the Yadava men, Krishna knew that it was time for his own personality to depart as well. After informing his aged father Vasudeva about all these developments, Krishna then retired to a forest to bring about his own exit from the stage of the Mahabharata drama. As he sat there, Krishna recalled the words that Durvasa had uttered many years before when the sage visited him in Dwarka. During that visit, Durvasa had tested the patience of Krishna and everyone else in the royal court by behaving in a characteristically irrational and harsh manner. However, Krishna passed the test by serving Durvasa with perfect balance of mind and adaptability and at all times. So we will continue this beautiful episode in tomorrow's satsang. Hari Om Tat Sat.